Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. It's another magical Monday. I hope you all enjoyed your weekends. I know it's been a little different out there. You know, astrologically, there are some energetics going on affecting us emotionally. The world is certainly polarizing at the moment, and lots going on there. So it's a time when, life's a little trying. It certainly is for me. I don't know about you guys, but when life gets a little trying, I always think about, okay, let's think about staying in the vortex. How do I maintain my alignment in times when it's difficult? So that's what I thought we would talk about today. But before I do, I'd like to get into reading a review, and I don't think Brandon has read one in a while, so I'm going to dip back in and see what we have here today. Y'all know how much we love these because it helps new listeners find us, and, it definitely fuels the fire to keep doing this on a daily basis, because when we know that one single person can be helped with any of the work that we're putting in, then it makes all of it worth it. So thank you for all of you who have written in. Thank you to all of you who are going to. And thank you today to ADC in WDC, who wrote this review called Positivity and Fresh Perspectives for Regular People. You don't have to ascribe to any particular set of belief or practices in order to gain something from listening to this podcast. You just need to have an open mind. Many people are turned off by New Age movements because they can seem cultish, or because some leaders engage in truly harmful quackery and fraud. Or some may think it's only for people whose daily lives include yoga, crystals, Reiki, meditation, chakras, Tai Chi, and tarot, all before breakfast. Thankfully, Brandon and his guests are about expanding your perspectives and exploring new ways of thinking and living that might work for you. Not about creating an exclusive club where a select few have access to some secret truth. I came to this podcast as a skeptic, looking for wisdom from someone who didn't claim to have all the answers, but wanted to serve as a guide as we all stumble toward enlightenment together. Brandon is that kind of guide. Humble, curious, lighthearted, and loving. Over the course of about a year or so of listening, the podcast has changed my life in totally unexpected ways. It helped me develop and strengthen coping skills and rewire thought patterns that kept me stuck. There is no magic pill or incantation that substitutes for doing the real work. And that's exactly the approach that Positive Head takes. With the podcast in your ear, you get empowerment and encouragement to keep going as you do your own real work. That's why I'm so convinced that the show is for anyone and everyone. The message is not do this and be healed. It is, what else can we learn and try on this messy, beautiful journey together? You get exposed to ideas, tools, and techniques to help you along your path in whatever ways resonate with you. Love you so, 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 so much. That's awesome, ADC. Thank you so much. You've made so many great points there. And synchronistically, of course, you've of course mentioned what I was going to talk about today, which is our path towards enlightenment and keeping ourselves in alignment, because that's really what it is. And you're so right about Brandon, by the way. Very humble, curious, lighthearted, and loving. Brandon is that exactly. You nailed that. We love our Brandon. He certainly is an absolutely wonderful guide. And I really loved your point there about there is no magic pill or incantation. That's so right. It really comes down to the work that we're putting in and the personal responsibility that we take in our own daily life to keep ourselves in alignment, to keep ourselves in the vortex, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So again, like I said, I don't know how many of you have been feeling these energies as of late, but I feel like they're pretty tough. So when this kind of stuff is happening, the thing that I think about is, okay, it's really important for me to maintain my vibration, because what's in one is in the whole. So if I'm not okay, then I'm just sending out this disheveled vibe. And I don't want to do that to the whole. I don't want to do that to the world. So now this is my personal responsibility to get a hold of my own energy, my own vortex. So, it's not always the easiest thing to do when you feel like emotionally bombarded. Maybe it's your relationship. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's something that somebody said to you that was mean, or it really struck you in a place that was one of your sensitive spots. And so when we can get to a place where we can really see these things as opportunities for growth, maybe they are showing us the places where we're not quite loving ourselves. And they're showing ourselves in order to bring more light so we can love them, so we can kind of take them into our arms and say thank you. Because every time we can do this even a little bit, the next time that a difficult situation comes in, then it's a little easier to bring in this thought pattern of, okay, what can I learn about myself here and where can I grow? So the more we learn and the more we do and the more we practice, I think that the easier this gets. Although it's never super easy. I had a client that under hypnosis one time that said about the game of life. We didn't say this game was easy. They said, so it's a game, but it's not a fun game. It's not an easy game at all. So when we get out of our vortex, finding a way back in can be as simple as just changing our thought process. Sometimes we want things to be a certain way. So many of us, we're helpers, we're empaths, we're people pleasers. We want to make everybody happy. And so when times are like this, sometimes it's a little harder for us. But it's important for us, again, to maintain this kind of a bubble where we can get in our own vortex and not allow the thoughts and opinions of others to have this incredible weight on us. So we can maintain our vibration to affect this whole in a more conducive manner. Did you ever see the tarot card, the devil card? This topic reminds me of this card a lot. Not only is the devil an archetype of all things I guess we consider negative or unbalanced. But if you look closely at the card, you'll see that the humans there are attached by chains to this big cube that the devil is sitting on. But the chains that are around the humans' wrists can be very, very loosely just slipped off. And what that's symbolic of is these chains that are tying us to the illusion. The illusion is the cube. And these chains that are tying us to this illusion, these thoughts and opinions of others, of the way the world is, our own opinions of what's going on around us. If we can just slip those chains off and realize that this is all just an illusion. It's just a game. We all came here to learn these lessons and have these experiences. Then when things get tough, we can get back into our vortex a little easier because we know these things. And the more we understand them, the easier it is to come back to that place more quickly. So something I always remind myself of when times get a little rough is that I chose this. Before I came here, before I came to this earth, I made these contracts. I made these choices to learn certain lessons and to have certain experiences. And so this is all just part of the play that I set up for myself. I'm going to read a little bit of Dolores Cannon's book, The Convoluted Universe, book 4, just a really quick excerpt out of a chapter called So-Called Bad Lives. And this is her summing up this chapter, talking about what happens when we prepare to incarnate here on Earth. No matter how beautiful it is over there, how much you would love to stay there, you cannot, as long as there are unpaid debts or karma. You have discussions with the souls you were involved with during the last life and make your plan. We didn't do such a good job last time. Let's go back and do it again. This time, you be the husband, I'll be the wife. Or you be the mother, I'll be the child. You can switch roles around any way you want. Remember, life is just a play, a game, an illusion. When we're involved in it, it seems so real. But we are only wearing a costume, a suit of clothes, to play that certain part. You are the producer, director, actor, and script writer of your own drama. And because the script is written as the play proceeds, it can be rewritten and changed at any time. You have complete control of what happens in your life once you realize this. So you make your plan of what you hope to accomplish when you return to the Earth School. You make your contracts with other people as to which roles they will play so you can get rid of any leftover karma. It seems so easy when you are on the spirit side and conferring with the masters. But when you get back on the wheel of karma, because this is a planet of free will, everyone else has their own plan and agenda, and often these will cause conflict. Plus, to make it doubly hard, when you come back, the veil comes down and you forget. You forget your plan. You forget your contracts. You forget it is only a school. You forget it is only a game. Because it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers. You have to stumble your way back on your own. You have to regain all the knowledge and information you forgot before you can graduate from this school. You can't jump from kindergarten to college. You have to take it grade by difficult grade until you finish and return to God or the source and download all of your experiences and lessons into the gigantic computer of his information. So she always puts that so well and so succinctly. And she talks about a lot of different things there. I just wanted to give you that general overview because when we can understand that we did plan all of these things, she gives this analogy that I've heard her talk about before about us being on the spirit side, and each experience we have is like a marble, and we place all these marbles in our jar or our plate. And some people, some souls really want to have a ton of experiences, get it all done. I know I can do it because from that side, it looks a lot easier. So you put all these marbles on your plate and your guides are telling you, oh, I don't know, that might be a little tough. And you say, no, I got this. I can do it. So you pile all these marbles on and then you get here. And now you have this full plate of marbles that you agreed to. And you forgot. So a big part of this game is remembering our plan, if we can, remembering the reasons why we're here, that we came to experience emotions and limitations, if we want to go general. And when we can remember that, it does help us to stay in our vortex or maintain our alignment a whole lot easier. So, of course, I found an Abraham clip on this topic. It is called Programming Your Mind to Instant Enlightenment. Take a listen.
And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
Hi. What I want to talk about is enlightenment. And here's...
Which is what we call alignment.
Okay. Here's where I get a little hung up.
That's not enlightenment.
I know. Thanks, bye.
Want to sit back? Want to sit back further?
I'm aware from the discussion today how I am not in a place where that can happen because of my own vibration and
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah. But I do practice a lot and have for many years. One of the things that doesn't make sense to me is there's a couple of teachers out there who appear to have that state, that attainment. And when you read about how they attained that, they were in a state of complete and utter despair. And then this awakening happened to them, presumably out of the blue. They weren't theoretically wanting it, they didn't know what it was, but there it is. And then their entire lives changed.
This thing happens to all of you in this sense. When you really know what you don't want, you launch stronger rockets about what you do want. So it's logical that in a time of true and utter despair that you would launch a stronger rocket of desire than ever before. Ordinarily, once you launch that rocket, you are not prepared to maintain the frequency of it. It takes some practice for everyone. What happens is you sift through life, you launch a rocket, it's new to you, you're used to hanging around over here in the absence of it, but then you can meditate and you can focus on positive aspects and you can find the feeling place of the new desire and you can close that gap, and now you've closed the gap, so you're standing in the vibrational frequency with the vibrational version of it, and now it manifests. And along with that comes a new set of contrasting experiences, which causes more launching of rockets. Sometimes, if the contrast is very strong, a very strong rocket is launched. And so that's what you're describing. But it takes focus to hold yourself in vibrational alignment with what you want. Now, maybe it was an experience that was so extraordinary and so astonishing that it got their attention and they were never able to not think about that again. In other words, a sort of miraculous thing that happened and they knew it, and so it was easy for them to stay focused there. But just the same, they launched a rocket and somehow managed to stay in vibrational sync with it.
I guess it's that miraculous thing that I want.
Well, the thing about that is, and we wish alignment for you also, but we would rather that you don't get in a place where you think that you have to achieve it and maintain it forevermore, because it's something that you can get back to anytime you choose to. Alignment is not something like a college degree where once you receive your diploma it is yours forevermore. It either is or it isn't in the moment, and you can tell by the way you feel, and then you can do something about it. So alignment really is a practiced state of vibration, and the reason that we so much want you to hear this is because you will never stop reaching for more. No one is ever going to launch a rocket and that's all they're going to ever ask for. You want to continue to reach for more and reach for more and reach for more. That's what evolution is all about. That's what eternalness is all about. So being in a relaxed state, not beating up on yourself about not being in alignment, is really a wonderful state of being. We've been talking about step 1, ask, step 2 is answered, step 3, get into the receiving mode. But a step 4 really is a mastery of that. It's a recognition that I might not be there all the time. I don't need to be there all the time, but I certainly know the difference. And I can get better and better at being unconditional in my alignment. When you finally reach the place that you don't need a condition to be a certain way before you accomplish alignment, you've really got a good thing going, because now you can be stable under any and all conditions. And before you know it, you have achieved mastery of your alignment. And then you get into a place, someone talked us into calling this step 5 the other day, and we think it's a good idea. You get to this place where you actually realize that contrast does serve you. You don't feel negative about contrast. You feel enlightened by contrast. You feel served by it. You feel like it's variety that helps you to choose in a more efficient way. Sort of like contrast is choices, sort of like being at a buffet. And when you reach that place where you're not condemning the part of contrast that you don't like, but instead you're blessing all of it for the clarity and choice that it produces within you, then you can move around this world enlightened and happy.
Wonderful.
And continually expanding, recognizing that you never get it done.
So there's more and more. There's never a state that's like, okay, I've got it now. It's like, even when you feel at peace or enlightened or in alignment or whatever, the more you practice it, the deeper it gets.
Absolutely. And here's some examples of that. So let's say that you want something that you don't have, and you feel the angst of that, but you know what to do. And so you cool your jets, you relax a little, you meditate some, you go general, you soothe yourself, you stop fussing about it. So your desire is ripe and source is on it, and now in the absence of your resistance, you move into alignment with it, and so you feel that peacefulness, you feel that satisfaction. But you're also asking for expansion. You're also an eternal being, and so life's going to show you something else to which you will come into alignment, and then life's going to show you something else. In other words, that's why you want to continue to return. That's why this time-space reality is such a delicious place to be. That's why you benefit one another in your diversity so much.
I get it.
No ending to the desires that will be born within you. And now you got to understand this next piece for that to be a satisfying thing. Because if we say to someone who believes that they will only be happy once they get that, and once they get that, and once they get that, once they accomplish all those big things that they want, you go down the list, I need to get all these things in place and then I'll be happy. If that is your belief, then comments like we have just been making do not please you when we say you never get it done. You're never going to stop having new desires be born. But if you understand that what happiness is alignment with the new idea, then you want to say bring them on. If you begin to realize that it is not the destination that you're reaching for, it's the process along the way that is so life-giving. Several of you were on the Alaskan cruise that left from Seattle and returned to Seattle, and we were teasing our cruising group one day in seminar. We said it would be like showing up at the port and them saying to you, well, this is where we are leaving from, and it's also where we are coming back to, so get off now. Your journey has been completed. See, it says right here on the itinerary, leaves Seattle, returns to Seattle, so get off now. And everyone would be a little unhappy about that, because they weren't taking the cruise to complete it. They were taking it to be on it. They were taking it for the fun, for the places, for the experiences. And so that's what your destinations or goals or the things that you want are. They're just your excuse to keep going, you see. And when you relax into that never-ending freshness of desire, people, we began with this comment today, people sometimes put enough contradiction into their own desires that their desires don't feel pleasant. But when you figure out how to no longer do that so that your desire stays fresh and rich, then new desires are something that you savor, something that you want, because you realize it's just more opportunity for you to be pleased by your relationship with life and with source flowing through you in your life. So the contentment that you talk about, that contentment is alignment. That contentment is enlightenment. That clarity is enlightenment. That absence of resistance is. But how are you going to know the deliciousness of absence of resistance unless you've experienced some presence of resistance? How are you going to know that you want to eat or that you've had enough? How are you going to savor food if you haven't been hungry? How are you going to feel the satisfaction of soothing yourself if you haven't gotten a little out of whack? This is the way you're molding the clay. But step 4 and further, step 5 is when you don't freak out in any moment that you're not in that miraculous state of alignment. And it is our promise to you. We don't care who they are or what they said. They are never always there.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Esther
good.
does a much better job of alignment when you all are expecting her. She makes sure she's ready for you. She tunes in, she meditates, she does focus wheels, she gets ready for you. Should have seen her yesterday. No. She stays there mostly, but you've got to be flexible in your world, yes?
Yeah.
And there is no one holding you to a standard. There's no one saying, you're not in alignment, we're done with you. In fact, the reason you feel negative emotion is because we are never done with you. If your source would let loose of you when you were feeling negative emotion, your negative emotion would go away immediately, because your negative emotion is your indicator that you're not where source is vibrationally. So every time you feel bad, say to yourself, good, source is still with me. It's worth a try. Source must really care. Source must be focused. Source must see this differently than I'm seeing it. Source must know something that I'm not letting myself know right now. Wonder what it is. As you start looking, you'll find it. Good. Enough?
Yeah.
Really good.
Thank you.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
So I love right off the bat, the first thing they start talking about is this apparent thing that we all see, that this awakening or enlightenment that happens miraculously to some people. And unfortunately, yes, it does come out of a tremendous amount of grief or despair or even anger. That amount of power and emotion can absolutely have the exact mirror opposite if you understand that in your mind. So these miraculous things do happen, but for most of us, it's going to be a slow step-by-step process of achieving alignment. And that's okay, because she talked about this is a journey anyway. We can just be in this moment and be comfortable in that, releasing any resistance to not being in alignment. And that in and of itself makes it easier. So we can't always have this miraculous thing happen to us. And when we do achieve it, it's something that we are not necessarily going to maintain all the time, high vibe forever, because life has its ebbs and its flows. And that's good, because if it didn't, then we wouldn't understand what it feels like to be in alignment or out of alignment. We really wouldn't know how glorious it feels to be in alignment if we didn't have that contrast. So when we're not beating ourselves up about not being in alignment, that is a wonderful state of being, just simply not beating ourselves up. I like the steps that she gave. Step 1, ask. Always ask, right? Like, never forget to ask for help. Ask your guides, even if it's just asking your family and friends around you if you need help and times are tough. That's okay to ask for help. Step 2, answer. Step 3, get into the receiving mode, which for me, I like to think of as acceptance. I had in my own experience seeing our guides or our angels hanging over us on this earth and showering us with so much love. But we have such a hard time accepting it. And so to set the intention of accepting the love that is there, that is surrounding us, that is us, that is being showered on us at all times, is huge. Step 4, the mastery of 3. Absolutely. Master step 3, accept and receive. And when you can do that and recognize the difference, realizing that we're not going to be in alignment all the time, but that each time it does get better and better and better, then at some point, then your alignment will become unconditional. And I don't know if it takes us to get to a Buddha state to get there, but that really is the goal, to get to that place of neutral, non-reaction, right? It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me sad. There is a balance there. That is contentment. That's true happiness. So, and then step 5, realizing that contrast serves you. This is what helps to enlighten us. This is what helps us to make choices, because the contrast is in the choices. And I love that point she said about going to the buffet and not condemning the things that you don't like, but blessing all of it for being there. So imagine that, in life, never condemning the things we don't like and seeing only the love and beauty and gratitude in everything that is. So the more we practice this, absolutely, the deeper it gets. And it takes practice. It takes that personal responsibility, again, to put that practice in on a daily basis. And she reminds us that it's the experience that we're here for. It's not the destination. It's the process along the way that is so life-giving. So maybe when we can remember all this stuff, that when we do encounter resistance, we cannot freak out about it. And I loved her point there when she said, it doesn't matter who they are and what they said. They're never always there. You're the only one that's always there. So all the people in our lives, all our relationships, all of our external circumstances really is just external to us, because we're the only one who's always here. And we need to put ourselves first, maintaining our own vibration, our own bubble. And that way, the things that the so-called quote unquote others do, right? That kind of stuff can just bounce off us, because our vibe now is strong and vibrating intensely when we can do this. And I know we can all do this because we're practicing every day, right, you guys? So I'm going to leave you with a quote from The Law of One. Although you have many, many items which cause distress and thus offer seeking and service opportunities, there is always one container in that store of peace, love, light, and joy. This vortex may be very small, but to turn one's back upon it is to forget the infinite possibilities of the present moment. And I think that sums it up really well. The infinite possibilities of the present moment are always there for our grasping. It's a great reminder on a magical Monday. I'm going to leave you with a song today by Ayla Nerio called Take It Slow. Until next time, love you all.
Take it slow. Don't get in your way. Keep it moving. pace of every weather, look within. And don't forget you are surrounded by the wind as it rushes in your lungs. Oh, honey, you are part of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains in your darkest tunnels, or where your light come from. So take it slow. What you long for is on its way, and don't stop reaching. Taste the sound of every color deep within. Let your wild be uncaged, run with the wind and rush into its lungs. Oh, honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains in your darkest tunnels, where your light come from. Oh, aim for the journey and grow with the night. Be brave in your loving, keep steady your side. Oh, honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains and your darkest tunnels, where your